Hello everyone, thanks for joining. Today we are going to discuss strategies for closing more business in uncertain times. I have a special guest, Mr. Ville Honkimäki from a data company, Profinder. Ville will jump in a few minutes, but let's start. A few quotes I've been discussing with my old customers, my network on this topic for a while, and I just wrote down a few quotes after those discussions. Accelerate 360 is a company providing sales outsourcing services to B2B tech companies, companies that want to conquer, for example, the European marketplace, start selling, and Accelerate 360 provides sales resources from lead generation to field sales executives. Gavin Page is founder, and his quote goes like this: I think the key has been flexibility on commercial terms. Discussing more incentive-based shared risk models has kept the conversations going, even though most people have still chosen a flat fee model. Also focusing on the issues the client has. Everyone is facing the same challenges, so the key is to focus on the problem specific to the individual and then reinforce the solution value around that. So that's Gavin's input here. Vendor Solutions, it's a bit same company providing sales outsourcing services to companies wishing to enter the DACH market. So from lead generation to field sales executives and partner managers. Jürgen is the founder, and Jürgen's quote goes like this: I think it has to do with being somewhat industry agnostic. Our service is about sales and the geography. DACH, which is hard to get into. There has been a slowdown in companies wanting to invest now, but for example, in the medical technology or in the fitness space. Juniper, most of you know this company. Old colleague of mine, Rasmus Andersen, based in Copenhagen, Denmark. He's the area partner director. And Rasmus says like this: Juniper has revisited commercial terms, offering more flexible subscription models to our customers. Also, we have broadened our offering to attract a wider range of customers. Juniper has shifted focus from SMEs to enterprise and have hired more enterprise salespeople. So a bit different tactic for Juniper. A bit different also from Prelex, old customer of mine. Johanna basically said that they just, have continued as is. So they haven't made any changes basically whatsoever, and they are doing great. So there is a great demand for their solution. So that works for them. Few trends before we jump into our discussions with Ville. What are shaping the B2B sales nowadays in the marketplace? The deal cycles are getting longer. Personalization still matters. So, and even more nowadays, it could be the winning strategy. And when we discuss personalization, we go also into the discussion of omnichannel selling. Buyers are visiting lots of different channels or are in different channels, digging information about solutions and technologies before they wish to be engaged with the salespeople. And you need to define your strategy based on that. And when you are entering various channels, you need to have content also to do that supports the tactics and strategy pretty well. Product-led growth is a rising trend. Surprise, surprise, originating from the Silicon Valley, whereby instead of companies having like a siloed approach where you have product management, you have pre-sales, you have sales, partner management, everything is kind of centered around the product. So the product is the kind of a driving force behind that trend. And yes, it's vital to stay on top of these trends, and you need to be flexible, and you need to be able to adapt and define your own strategy. So yes, we go back, 12, 13 years with Ville. We worked together, bringing a really nice and innovative technology into the Nordic countries. It was a marketing automation solution called Neolane. It was a French company which was bought 6-7 years ago, if I'm not wrong, by Adobe. So it's Adobe Campaign nowadays. And when we engage with customers, data was super important. Those customers were B2C companies, and they were kind of figuring out how to have a proper dialogue with their end customers, consumers. So those were early days, and they really liked the tool, but the problem was that they didn't have a clue how to engage with their customers, so they didn't know how to use the tool. So that's what we tackled, and data was super important there, because without the data, you cannot kind of personalize the discussions with your end customers. So we go back a long time ago, and we have done stuff together after that. And now I'll let you introduce yourself, Ville. So please go ahead.
Thanks very much, Petri. Thanks for having me here. Pleasure to be here, and also for good old time's sake. As you said, it's fantastic to have seen that by ourselves that what importance the data basically has from the very start of the end-to-end process when you think of sales and marketing. And that's where I have landed at Profinder, a Finnish SaaS company providing Finland's best data, as you can see also from our homepage. And that's our aim, and it has been also in our strategy since 2020, when I just joined this company as a CEO. And we made up our strategy up until the end of 24 this year. And our aim has been to be in quantitative terms, and especially in qualitative terms, the best B2B and B2C target group, providing target groups in Finland. And as you can see from this page, this is frankly a snapshot of really what we do. We have been laying very much interest in building the best data, so that you can imagine 3 disks on top of each other. The first disk contains the B2B and B2C data, which we enhance all the time. The second layer are the external data sources, basically, that we purchase from outside. Those could be municipal, those could be governmental data, or from other companies. But those are the external data sources, and those are over 15. And then we have the third disk, which is our crawled data. We are crawling all the time data from open sources, so that when you add on these 3 disks on top of each other, that's the first part on the left side of the market's largest database, which is our fundament for all of our doings. Then we started to realize that people want to use, especially in SaaS terms, want to use very simple user interfaces, as simple as possible. And that has been our device all the time, that whether the user in a company uses and has access to our databases via the user interface that we have created by ourselves, by Profinder, or then, like in most cases, for instance, in bigger companies nowadays, the tendency is that the users want to use for instance, the CRM tool, Salesforce, Dynamics, Pipedrive, HubSpot, wherever. So they want to see the data via their own interface that they use daily, like the CRM system. So that's where we come in via the integration. And of course, then some companies that use more for analytics this data, or like big online companies who want to have massive amounts of data from us, then we build customized APIs in case necessary. And that has turned us to a company with turnover of about roughly 6 million at the moment, and we have almost 1,500 customers from Finland, and some of those customers you can see on the right side of this slide. So that's a snapshot of our company.
Great. Thanks, Ville. Very interesting, impressive logos also you have there, and 1,500 customers. That's a nice number, and you have a really nice growth as well, if I understood right. Last year was like, was it 34% growth on SaaS, and that's pretty impressive. So,
Thank you.
and as we all know, it's the marketplace is not definitely the easiest in the world, and it hasn't been for a while. I mean, the virus 4 years ago started to change the market somewhat and created all kinds of challenges to companies. Then the war in Ukraine, inflation, energy crisis, and so forth. So it hasn't been definitely easy for companies, but you have been doing great. On challenges on B2B side, we can also kind of, or I can recognize also kind of increasing complexity in the marketplace. Of course, the economic uncertainty is still there. The Fed is planning to lower interest rates. Same will happen in Europe at some point, at least maybe in the summer. That maybe could trigger some investments, which could also help SaaS companies to sell more to those companies that are doing investments. Global competition is not definitely going down. Digital transformation is still ongoing, and buyers are changing their behavior. There's lots of stuff happening. Also regarding data security concerns, and I didn't even mention AI, which is going to change the market. I don't even know, what will happen in a few years' time with AI. It's going to change the market pretty much. Okay, few questions for you, Ville.
Sure.
You have been able to sign new business last year a lot, and the growth is 34%. That's impressive. I mean, what I understood that you have also done some improvements to your data. Can you a little bit explain how that's done?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, the growth of the 34% was in our MRR, monthly recurring revenue license base. So we have gained more customers, but we have also the whole stock of the customers using our data for in 12-month time period from here onwards. That has been growing, and the path is actually quite interesting how we have landed here. First of all, I would like to say that we have tried out a lot in terms of product-led growth. We have tried out since 2021. We did a lot in terms of trying out different products, different services to our customers, and that's we basically learned a lot from these different customers. The problem was that we created products for customers that were customized for some customers, but they weren't sufficient for most of the customers. So we learned all the time basically to see what products should be for most of the customers. What do they need? For instance, some of our competitors, they focused on the fact that they wanted to provide data where something has changed in the B2B, in the decision maker data. And they always provided the changing data that was needed. And that's fine. If you want to stay updated what's going on in market and you get this ready-made list of changed data in the database, that's fine. We have also learned from that. We provided it since end of last year also to our database. But some have done that as a main job. Credit information data also at some competitors, that has been the edge of their supply. But instead what we did during last year especially was the fact that we concentrated on having as good qualitative data in terms of having the most telephone numbers and the most email addresses of the decision makers in the data, and really crawling out from different sources to have the best possible contact data. Because when times get tougher, as you said, Petri, then we have learned on our side that the more accurate the data is, the more it is also purchased and used from our service. So that it's the quantity and the quality, basically, that you have to have both in place. And the only way to get there was to make mistakes enough in previous life so that you can really see what's needed and what's qualitative according to our users and our B2B partners.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember when we brought Neolane to the Nordics, where the data that was super important at that point was kind of the data that you can personalize the communication with your end customers, like what's the purchase history, what's the communication history, and that kind of information. But the data was important at that point as well, and now it's getting more and more important. So
no, I fully agree. If you put good data in from the beginning, you get good results at the end. But as Sam has said, if you put shit into the pipeline in the first beginning, you get shit out of the pipeline. So the old saying still is valid, I would say.
Exactly, and lots of things are done based on the quality of the data. So all those actions become trivial if the data is corrupted and bad. So it's kind of also on the negative side. You mentioned developing the product. Would be great to understand, how the product is better now. I mean, what's the difference?
Sure. The B2B, we have both B2B and B2C data, and where we have put our emphasis on is since 2 years back in time is definitely to make the B2B data much more accurate and much more usable for our customers, much more versatile. So in terms of getting the B2B data better is that as I mentioned already earlier, we need to have the correct information in there. As an example, you cannot just take from LinkedIn the data and put into some database. You need to check the data from various sources, basically, in order to have the right titles, for instance, of the decision makers there, and really to facilitate that the data is correctly. You can always take the like LinkedIn data, some outer sources. You can take them to the user interface, as we also have done, to be seen there, like a certain decision maker, like Petri, your title could be something else in LinkedIn as it is in our database. That's most likely, but that's why you have to have the both, because if you want to use that data as a user and have most accurate possible data, you can see both worlds basically in one user interface. So getting the both information there, but having our own validated data still in the database together with your telephone number and correct email address, that's the whole fundament. You mentioned the artificial intelligence. That's also part of our life nowadays, in a sense that if I give an example, so that previously yes, previously many entrepreneurs, many marketing directors, sales directors, they made their own assumptions on who might be our best customers for this month or this week or this quarter. And the assumptions were usually based on the sales department's cumulative feeling on who should we target. But nowadays there is a possibility together with the artificial intelligence to make it double. Basically, you can have your own lists who you are going to target via the sales intelligence tool. And if we get the access to your own CRM, which contains a certain number of certain 100 customer companies that you have in your CRM database, we can extract that data to our side, and we have an algorithm here, and that algorithm proposes a target group for you. So you can nowadays you can basically have a comparison between your own hypothesis, who are your target customers, who are your future customers, prospects, and which customers, prospects does does the AI basically recommend for you. So I would say that's the thing that's happening currently in our systems.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that's AI for you. That's amazing. You also earlier on you also mentioned that you have done some improvements into the user interface, so it's kind of a more end user friendly, and also you have created those APIs in both ways for the CRMs.
Yes, absolutely. The thing is that the market is evolving all the time. Different systems, they compete of users' time and of users' attendance. And us as a data company, we need to be there where the users is used to use the data. It might be a system that we already know now, but it might also be a system that we don't know yet, and that's we have to build an integration. So wherever the user uses the data, the trend is going towards the fact that the war of the souls, the user souls, is ongoing, as we know, between different CRM companies at this very moment. So they are all trying to lure the B2B the users into their own interface. So that's where we also have to be. But having said that, we realized from our customer feedback that our interface was outdated. It was created in 2019, but it was outdated in after 2022. So we renewed the user interface into a totally new, a lighter one, a more seamless one, and that happened during 23. Okay. So we had to do that in order to be as easy to use as possible, so that our users can get really the information in a visual way as soon as possible, as quickly.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you have really invested in the product strategy there, and you know, kind of enhancing the product, but also the data, kind of under the hood, so to say. So that's great. Yeah. We also discussed earlier on kind of the target segment and focusing on specific target segments. Has the approach been to to choose more like a specific verticals, or is it about the shift is from larger to smaller, or from smaller to larger companies?
Yes, there has been definitely a shift. Yes, when we talk about the integrations, the first wave of integrations is mainly sold at this very stage to larger companies, because they already use the bigger CRM systems and so on. But we can see the shift coming towards the mid-sized companies who use lighter systems like HubSpot, like Pipedrive. You seem to find them all over nowadays. So the lighter systems, they also use the integrations. So we can see a shift in that ways downwards towards smaller companies. And on the other hand, the smallest companies, the man and the van companies, they still tend to use our own interface. And we have both. We have both from as you saw from the logo list. We have from Fortum, from the Finnish energy company, to the man and the van, and we like to serve all of those. But you can really see the shift in terms of the usage and where the interface is being used. In terms of then the verticals, you could say that's very much dependent on what's going on in the market. Like, for instance, as you know, Petri, in the Nordic area, the construction companies are struggling at the moment very much. And they are more interested of the credit rating data, for instance. Who can they sell to so that they know that they get the money at some stage? Then other verticals are more interested in the users, like, for instance, finance and banking. They are interested, of course, in the wealth, in the terms of who is more wealthy than the other. In Finland, for instance, they love to have the information on the different wealth groups, for instance, so that they can make the offer of their interest rates, for instance, savings interest rates. So it depends on the vertical, what's going on basically in that industry, what the need is. So I would say that it goes very much hand in hand. The data usage goes hand in hand. What's going on in a certain industry, in a certain vertical.
Okay.
So of course our focus is also there where the money is, so where there is happening stuff, so that that's where we also of course put our emphasis on. But we
Yeah,
do
that's very focused. Yeah.
serve different various industries.
Okay. Great. And one part has been, if I understood right, is to kind of refine to a more flexible pricing scheme. That's really interesting. Can you a little bit explain? Has that been kind of a reflecting to larger deals or increased number of customers?
Yeah, most definitely. We believe at Profinder that the pricing should be very transparent, and that's why we have put our prices, opened up them totally on our homepage, so that everybody can see what the price is for a certain service or for a certain feature. We have got very good experience and also comments from our customers about the fact that it is really open. You can see for what you pay, and that strategy really pays back in terms that of course not all of the projects can be priced there. There are always customized API projects and stuff like that, where we are happy to help then by our sales team. But all in all, 95% of all our sales cases, they are run via this open pricing that we have on the net, and it's very open. I mean, we don't. The more the data is used, we don't punish anybody. The more it is used, the better. The more people come to our data and to our service and use our databases, the better. What we have done is that we have different price classes depending on how many users you have at our customer company. So if you have between 1 and 3, it's another story than if you have plus 10 users at the company. So that the pricing ladders are according to by users. And then of course, if you add on services, like if you go and buy a car and you have a basic car and then you add on certain features, that's the same for us. The more you add on certain services that you might need also in future, you can add on and just click and add on a certain service from our product portfolio. So it's rather easy. It's as easy made as possible.
Nice to hear. Really nice to hear. We mentioned also briefly product-led growth strategy. You also mentioned that, and you have done a lot of stuff based on that kind of a trend. And it is a kind of a strategy where the product itself acts as the primary driver of acquisition, retention, and expansion. And well, it started 2016 from the Silicon Valley, but everything takes a bit time before they come into Europe or Nordics. And if you kind of compare product-led growth to the normal kind of sales growth strategy, the teams are organized more around leveraging the product to drive business growth. So unlike in the sales-led models where teams are often siloed, I mean, marketing, product, sales, engineering, and customer success departments work collaboratively to achieve their goals. How do you feel about this product-led growth? Is this going to be something that will last long time, or is it a kind of a short-term trend?
Yeah, I think that in our industry, it's definitely going to be the thing, because mostly the users are not able to know what's coming up in terms of data. How can you combine data? What kind of sources do you find for it? How can you validate the data and so on? It must be us companies from this from data side that comes with proposals. What can be done? What product is available? What can you link with each other? Which different data sources can you link with each other? So it must be basically from our side. So definitely I see that as future, that we propose certain things. We love to create ready-made things for instance, a new service or a new product that we have here, we create it, and then we propose that product to certain customers that could this be of interest for you in a certain industry. It usually starts with a certain vertical or with a certain industry. And then we go with the beta version, almost ready-made product. We go to the customers and ask that, hey, we thought that this feature, this product might be interesting for you. Could it be something for you? And then we start to discuss and test, usually via a pilot period, with certain customers, and then we get the feedback, and then we can start to enhance the product even to a last ready-made product. So that's how we go on, and I see no future of changing that either.
Yeah, it really sounds like you have not been staying in put and waiting what's happening around you and in the world and in the marketplace. You have definitely done a lot of stuff. I mean, you have enhanced your data; it's much better at the moment. You have done you have developed your product. You have better, more user-friendly UI. You have done both ways APIs with the CRMs. You have focused your approach to different target segments. You have a more flexible pricing scheme. So, I mean, you have done lots of stuff. Do you have any advice to other B2B SaaS companies that, we are still in the uncertain time period here, and, any tips what they could do?
Yeah, sure. I would say that depending on the life cycle of that company, of that SaaS company, try out different things and go out towards the market. Try out beta versions, test them, go on and see what happens. But as a summary, I would say that we now live the year 24. We are now creating our strategy for 25 to 27 at this very moment, our next strategy phase. So that and what's going to happen there. We at least are going more towards the profiling analytics side, using even more the artificial intelligence in that one. So analytics and profiling will definitely be something that we'll be adding on there. But that also by creating something almost ready, testing it together with customers, and then coming back and seeing if it's a feasible case or not. I would say that do enough testing and trial and error, basically. Try and error so that you can really see where your base is going to. But the quality in terms of when there are tougher times, as I said earlier, focus on the quality, because usually also in our industry there are smaller companies. When times are better, there are smaller companies that provide lead information and lead data, for instance. There are a huge number of those companies, and when times get tougher, they are not here anymore. Those smaller companies, they have vanished somewhere. They are not here, and your users as a SaaS company, whatever product or service you are providing, if your fundament, if that's solid, then you will have the customers also in tougher times. So we see that keep your core product updated, tested all the time, and in a good shape. So I can say that you will be in a good shape also in tougher times. And then when the times get better, you can take even more risks by adding on certain product areas which might not have been the case when times are tougher.
Yeah, interesting. Very valuable for companies struggling to sign more customers in these uncertain times. Thanks a lot, Ville. It was a pleasure to have you here, and I'm sure this will bring a lot of valuable information to other B2B SaaS companies around.
Thank you, Petri. It was a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Okay. When you think about how to define your strategy in these times, I mean, it's no news that the long sales cycles are longer, and how you can tackle that is that you can try to maximize every single buyer interaction to provide more value. That's one of the ways to tackle that one. You need to personalize your offering. You need to differentiate yourself and drive sales by adopting a more customer-centric approach. Omnichannel is really, really, really important. You have to kind of define how your customers are buying. So it's really important to understand in which channels they are, so that you can define your own sales strategy to gather those channels. And that's increasing. The channels are still increasing in the future. And when you engage in different channels, you need to have the content there as well. You need to kind of boost thought leadership. You need to be able to provide information that buyers are seeking independently and they can find. So that's important. It's a different ball game when you then engage with your potential buyer, that they have already seen your content and they consider it valuable. Discussion is totally different after that. And everything else is trivial if you don't have deal flow. So be sure that you kind of fill in your bottom of the funnel. There are lots of ways doing that. Of course, inbound is definitely something, content, but there are good companies that you can also outsource lead generation, and focus then on kind of taking the sales process from the lead stage forward. How you can start defining your strategy is you need to do some research and planning, of course. Then you go into creating your strategy. You need to be also very flexible. So if that strategy doesn't work, implement a lean approach. Go back and do something else and test it again. And if it works, continue and push the pedal. You need to also revisit your plans many times, because that's the only way to do it. And you need to be consistent and patient. So that doesn't mean that it's too lean model whereby you test something in a week, and if it doesn't work, you kind of walk away. All right, we are ending our session today, and I really appreciate you being here and listening to our conversation with Ville. And I wish you will definitely start thinking about how to define your own strategy. And I thank you again, and see you next time.